And so now I'm very excited to announce that we get to have a fireside chat with our 2020 Distinguished Entrepreneur of the Year, Kenna Danyliw. Kenna's here. I'm going to ask you just to wave, Kenna. It's terrific to see you today. And thank you so much for being here. We're very, very excited. You are truly a shining example of self-made success. I think David's presentation today was a tremendous segue into our conversation. You are one of the most sought after, well-known chartered professional accountants in the music industry. Your clients include Juno and Grammy Award winning artists and nominees. You've had just an incredible trajectory of success, and you're so understated about all of this, and your humility is so appealing and endearing. And beyond everything that you've done as an entrepreneur, you are also an incredible contributor to the community, which is another important criteria for receiving this distinguished award. So we know that COVID has changed how we normally celebrate and honor the recipient of this very prestigious award. We're going to be holding a beautiful event later in November, albeit for a very limited group of people because of social gathering limits. But we're delighted to have you here with us today, because this is an opportunity for you to tell your story and to share your insights as an entrepreneur with so many other representatives of our business community today. So I want to thank you for joining us and for being here just to have that conversation. And so I have a few questions for you, and then if others want to put their hand up and ask you for some insights, it would be terrific just to have that discussion. So thank you again. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Carla, for having me here today. I'm excited to be here. David, that was amazing, who just went before. That was really great, actually. I learned a lot, and a lot of it actually resonated. Thanks to the Chamber. I think especially through this COVID time, you guys have done an amazing job advocating, educating, inspiring, really, like when the business community really, really needs it. And a shout out to all the sponsors. Thank you. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. So BDC, thanks for taking the lead on this, and to all the other sponsors as well. And no, I was not asked to say that. I just recognized the importance.
Well, thanks for that, Kenny. You're absolutely right. Our sponsors deserve our very sincere thanks. So we'd love to hear more about you. I mean, you're very understated. You're one of these quiet but powerful forces within our community who has done something so extraordinary. So tell us, like, what was the catalyst for creating this incredible boutique firm? And you work with, as I said, extraordinary artists and people and who are so successful. How did you end up doing all of this? What was that sort of, that aha moment that you said, I'm gonna start my own business and I'm gonna be their best there is in this space?
Well, I think like a lot of businesses, it kind of started accidentally on purpose. Before, I am a CPA, CA, CFA, and I had worked at Coopers and Lybrand, which was then called Coopers and Lybrand, and then I'd gone out into industry for a while, working in corporate treasury and mergers and acquisitions, and then I returned back to the high net worth group at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and it was there that we had gotten this client who was a musician, very young musician, and we were trying to make what she needed work within the framework of PwC. And what I realized was that musicians don't necessarily have the same structures that a traditional business might. So I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but there's basically the artist, right? So say you're Drake, right? There's you. Drake's the president. You're in charge of your business. They hire management to sort of oversee operations and strategy. And they also hire business management, which is sort of the role that my firm fulfills. And business management is sort of taking an entire finance, accounting, risk management department, right? And having this firm do it. And then you obviously have legal counsel, agents, PR, lots of important people in this. So what this client was looking for was business management. And it didn't really fit within the PwC model. It's a great firm. Like, you know, I still work with them to this day. And this client had said to me, do you want to come work for me? And I was like, no, no. But I would maybe go out on my own and I'll start my own firm and you could be my first client. Because what I had realized was that in Canada, nobody really filled that space. Nobody passionately, you know, pursued, you know, excellence in that space. And so I thought, well, why not me? And there were a few sort of fundamental drivers there is that, and I think there's still the same fundamental drivers today, is that we believe in the power of music. We believe in the power of the arts. Like if you are a musician, or I noticed that Joseph Tassoni is speaking as well today, that the arts really are fundamental to who we are as humans. Like when you think about a song, right? Music can make you laugh, can make you cry. People agonize over it on what to dance to on their first wedding. It kind of creates a soundtrack to your life. You know, if you hear a throwback song, you're immediately brought back to, you know, your teen years or something like that. And we knew that artists were running a business. And I knew that business management is fundamental to their success. And I also knew that trust and integrity and expertise in that area is fundamental to doing a good job. So I quit my job and I started out in my spare bedroom. I know, David, you said you started level 5 at your kitchen table. I actually had a spare bedroom, so I started in there and it was really just me. And it was kind of scary. You know, I had 2 young kids, very young, you know, toddler kind of age. I had a stepson. I had a very, very supportive husband. But he was working for a public company and they had gone through a reorganization and were moving their head office. So he was like out of work. And this is at the time that I decided I'm going to quit my good job. So that's basically how it started, with just me and one client. But today we have grown, and we are the leading firm in that space in Canada.
Wow. So how did you overcome that fear, right? Because that's a big risk, a big leap to take, as you just sort of shared what was going on in your personal life. I mean, what sort of sustained you and helped you overcome and conquer that fear? Because, you know, when you're taking your life and your career in a bold new direction, how do you keep going?
Well, I think, you know, anyone who started a business like probably shares the same fears. You know, can I do this? So you have to have a certain core belief in yourself, but you also have to have a belief in what you're doing. Like I say we now, because it's not just me, but, you know, I passionately believed that we made a difference, that I believe that what we do matters. And so I think that is really the driver, what gets you up, you know, in the morning. And in those early days, like, you know, I would work till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like it was a bit insane, right? Until I started, you know, being able to hire and so forth.
Yeah. So that was your North Star, right? You really believed in what you were doing.
Yes, I care. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, care about the staff, and I deeply care about doing a good job because, you know, honestly, like trust and integrity is really, really important. So you consistently, you know, have to do a good job. You have to let your clients know that they are the most important person to you in that moment. You know, sometimes I'll never pick up the phone with a client and talk about, you know, what my other clients are doing or something like that. Like that, I need them to feel and to know that their business is important, because it is their financial, you know, the financial side of things. And they're highly creative people, right? Like you get to work with, some of the most creative minds that Canada has to offer. And it's unusual to find someone who is, that creative, that, excellence in their creativity. That is also really interested in spending a lot of time, on the business management side of their business. So they have to trust you. There are horror stories out there, right, about people being ripped off. And, so that ability, your integrity matters. And I always think, it can take years, right? Years to earn someone's trust, but you can lose it in a heartbeat, right? Like if you really mess up. So you consistently have to try and do the right thing. And then,
Well, and certainly as David has taught me that, it can take years and a very long time to build that great brand and reputation, and it can disappear in a heartbeat with one occurrence, and we've seen that. So your brand attributes have obviously really helped you define a customer experience and establish relationships with your clients that I'm sure are very, very powerful. So what are some of those, because you work with some pretty cool people, like what are some of those big excitements that you've experienced along the way as you look back, those defining moments when you said, yes, this is what success looks like. This is what it feels like.
Well, there's a few things, like there's the things that you would think of, you get to do really fun things. It's definitely a benefit. You get to go to a lot of concerts. Well, pre-COVID, not so much anymore. The Juno Awards are always really fun. And the Juno show is great, but really all the stuff happens at the before and after sort of parties. Great client weddings. Like I've been to weddings, like, in the south of France in a medieval like castle. So those sort of like, the things that you would think come with it. But there's other things like seeing a client succeed. There's probably nothing like it. I've had a few clients. We will only take them by referral right now, and we only take them if they have good management and so forth in place. But I've had clients that have been making a couple $100 a night playing, whatever gigs there were out there, selling their own merch at the merch table. I'm thinking of one client in particular, and then she went on to write the biggest song of the summer one year. It was huge. Billions and billions and billions of this single got streamed everywhere around the world. And just to watch that girl who had gone from, signing a t-shirt right out at her own merch stand to this massive international success, and knowing that we were part of helping that, happen is so rewarding. And I recently had another one. I have an artist who comes from he's very young, like he just turned 23, immigrant family. They had come from Yemen. And he was making music, in his basement, and he had developed this online following. And I watched that kid step on the stage for the first time in his entire life in January of this year to a sold out crowd. He sold out in less than 10 minutes, and a huge international tour had been scheduled, which unfortunately got shut down. But watching him do that, and also at the same time being able to buy his parents, their very first home in Canada, is incredibly rewarding. Like, so, there's lots of really exciting, fun stuff that happens. And honestly, for me, from a personal perspective, with respect to the business, is our growth. We've had consistent, steady growth, and it's not through, like we can't advertise or market in a sort of more traditional way. I think a lot of other professional services and so forth, or actually any business really, I don't know, David could correct me on this, but reputation and word of mouth for us is the most powerful. The entertainment industry is small, really. Like, I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar business, but the people in it, it's a small world, and they all talk. So your reputation really is what matters. So seeing that growth, like, has been really, really fulfilling. Increasing our staff, our staff is amazing, wonderful. And, even little things like when I moved out of the house, like that was like, woo, right? And then we started leasing space, and we would have to start leasing bigger and bigger space. And every time you knock down a wall to take over the space next to you, woo. And then finally we bought a building on Harvester and moved there. So things like that are, is great.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, you are so fascinating, Kenna. We could, listen to these stories. I know they're so powerful. Just keeping and being mindful of the time. Two things I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about. You are really dedicated to community as well. You are an incredible contributor. So you give back. You're involved in, so many philanthropic, other organizations. Can you just share with us a little bit about how that also defines you and how your entrepreneurship allows you to maximize not just your economic impact within the community, but really that social impact as well? Because you're doing some really interesting work there.
Well, the community work really, I get as much out of it as I give. I feel as well. You want something outside of work. You want to be able to, use the skills that you have, right, to better our community. Burlington, has been a great community for me to grow a business in. My clients are all over Canada, the United States, outside of North America. And people would often say to me, why are you not in Toronto? Right? And it's like, because Burlington is actually fantastic to do business in. And so I wanted to give back somehow. And so I was like on the board of the art gallery of Burlington. I rotated my position off of there. But that was really fun and, allowed me to somehow give back to the arts, which have given so much to me. And then several other, boards and volunteer work. As a firm, we really try and do something every year, like it's sort of ingrained in our culture. And it's gotten to a point now where we have a social committee, and they actually come up with what they would like to support or participate in. Like we participate in the Habitat for Humanity build on Plains Road. I spent a day installing insulation in that facility. So, I just think it's really important. And I get a lot out of it personally, personal gratification.
Yeah. And what you've just described is really, it's a common theme. It's a thread that we see throughout our business community, that giving back, that paying it forward. So many shining examples, and you are certainly one of our very notables. So thank you for all that you do. Before we give everyone just a few minutes break here, because we've got two other amazing panels, I'd love to hear from you. I'm sure everyone would. As someone who has, been there, started in the spare bedroom, and really had an extraordinary professional journey as an entrepreneur, what is that one learning, that one piece of advice that you would share with everyone on the line as either entrepreneurs or as business leaders in their own right?
Can I tell you? I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
I think that especially during this time, obstacles or difficulties, what I have learned are sometimes opportunities that you just maybe can't see. I'll tell you a quick story. Is that early on when I had first started this business, I didn't have a huge client roster. A client who was really special to me, like I loved her, I spent so much time working on her, fired me. And I was like, it was like, now if we lost a client, which doesn't happen very often, it'd be like a little slap in the face, right? But at that point, it was like a punch to the gut. Like I was like, oh my God. And she didn't even tell me. She had her manager tell me. And I was like, all those thoughts go through your head. What did I do wrong? Like, was it me? How did this happen? Like, I'm pretty sure I've been doing a very good job. And, your first instinct is to call and say, what the, But I thought about it, and what I did is I sent her this giant bouquet of flowers, like giant. And I put a card with it, right, that said, thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you. If you ever need anything, I am here for you. And then I called up the guy that I was transitioning the work to, who was in, you know, LA, Beverly Hills, very fancy guy. So I call him up and I'm like, you know, congratulations, you've got a wonderful client here. What can I do to help this transition work for you? And, you know, it was kind of a little hard to do at the time, but, you know, I thought this is the right thing to do. And that thing that guides me, right? We care about our clients, we care about our reputation, we care about, you know, trust and integrity. So we did everything we could to transition that business over to him. Little did I know at that time that this guy was a major player in the business management market in LA. And he said to me, you know, Kenna, you know, like, I want you to keep the Canadian work. And I'm like, okay, yeah, great. I can do that for sure. And then he calls me, he goes, you know, I have other clients that, you know, I need Canadian work done for. Can you do that? And I'm like, sure. Anyways, he ended up being like, you know, he was a business manager for Madonna, for like Bon Jovi, like, you know, like huge. This guy was, you know, and he became my sort of friend and mentor, right? Because he had built a similar type of business in the US and sold it actually a few times. And that led to a whole other branch of a business that we do, that we still do today. And not just for his firm, because, you know, reputation, word of mouth, they all start talking to each other. So, you know, we literally get hundreds and hundreds of these a year. And as icing on the cake, that client who fired me came back a few years later. She was just like, can I come back? I'm like, yes, you can come back. So what at the time seemed like, oh my God, right, this is the end, actually turned out to be an opportunity. So right now, during all this COVID situation, you know, I think that there is opportunity in there, and sometimes, you know, it just might take a little while to see it.
Yeah, thank you. You are so gracious, Kenna, and there's so much power in that. What an incredible example you are. I can't thank you enough for accepting this year's award. You are an incredible choice, and we're just delighted that you're this year's recipient. So I want to thank you so much for being with us this morning. We have 2 other amazing panels coming up, so we'd love to have you stay with us if your schedule permits, and spend a few minutes chatting with others during the networking breaks, etc., that we have scheduled. So congratulations again, and thank you again for your grace, for your dignity, for all that you do in the city. I can't think of anyone more deserving. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
So.